Welcome back to the show. You guys, I am beyond thrilled to have this next guest on my show, Lee Hammock, known as Mental Illness on social media. Many of you already know him. He is a self aware, diagnosed narcissist, mental health author, motivational speaker, and social media influencer that uses humor and the absolute truth to help others become aware of and heal from narcissistic abuse. Also, just to note, trigger warning, as this episode will cover topics like abuse and trauma that may be sensitive to some. So, a few years ago, I was coming out of a narcissistic abusive relationship with someone my therapist believes to have narcissistic personality disorder as well as antisocial personality disorder. In other words, a narcissistic psychopath. I came across Lee Hammock on social media shortly after I broke free from that relationship. And you guys, I wish I had come across him sooner because I can't even begin to describe how helpful, eye-opening, and healing his videos have been for me and thousands of others. It was during our one-on-one consulting session that he also helped me to truly understand what I had dealt with. With a strong social media presence and empowering message, I am honored to have you on the show today. Not to mention, you happen to be from my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. Lee, would you mind introducing yourself to the listeners?
So, my name is Lee Hammock. I'm a clinically diagnosed narcissist, and Melissa said pretty much everything I do. I've been in psychotherapy for the last 6 years, but I've been talking about my mental health journey on social media for almost the last 3.5 years, helping people, understand what they've been through. Actually speaking to quite a few narcissists themselves that are trying to go to therapy and hopefully trying to change their lives. That's neither here nor there. Got to see consistency is the key to that type of stuff right there. So yeah, man, that's pretty much what I do right now. Like I said, I've written a couple. Like I wrote a kids book. I'm writing another kids book right now,
Yeah.
and I'm in the process of writing my actual own book. So the kids book comes first. I feel like I need to reach the kids because you
Yeah.
can heal the children. You can change the world and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And you guys, please be sure, I will mention this later as well, to check out the show notes because I'm going to include that link for your book in everything, all your links and stuff in the show notes. So I do love how you are able to help both people that have encountered, narcissistic abuse, but also help people that are suffering from narcissistic disorder or, narcissistic personality disorder, because it is often misunderstood. So can you just explain to the listeners, what is this? Like, what is narcissistic personality disorder? Because I do feel like that word is thrown around a lot and it doesn't apply in some situations. So
Yeah.
if you could explain it.
So narcissistic personality disorder is a pervasive
Hmm.
personality disorder. It's a mental health condition. It's not necessarily described as mental illness because it's a disorder of the personality that causes you to, feel super entitled,
Hmm.
have delusions of grandeur. It typically comes with a lack of empathy, a lack of connection, lack of compassion for other people,
Hmm.
um, and things like that. It's just like it's varying degrees and whatnot of the personality disorder per se, but yeah, it doesn't fit everybody.
Hmm.
That the word narcissist kind of thrown around a lot
Yes.
in social media. Yeah, it is, and I would agree with that. But for me, as a diagnosed narcissist on this path of growth and learning, I don't
Hmm.
necessarily think that's a bad thing. People will
Hmm.
disagree with me on that. And they're like, "Well, Lee is stigmatizing other narcissists and is making it all narcissists seem like bad people." I'm like, show me a narcissist that is doing good. Then, like, show me somebody that's like other than myself and like Ben Taylor and a
Hmm.
few other people.
Yep.
Show me ones that are being good, like because the groups that I'm
Hmm.
in, most of them like being who they are. Just like they like, yeah, I'm a narcissist, so what? Like I know who I am,
Yeah.
and and if you don't hold them accountable, it's just like it allows them to make excuses for their behaviors. Like that's right there. There's ableism to say the narcissists they are victims too. Like just because you were a victim in your childhood doesn't mean you get to create
Right.
victims in your adulthood. And that's one of the things I have to grasp in my own, like in my own self, my own journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had things happen to me in my childhood, but it doesn't like give me an excuse to treat people a certain type of way. Hey, look, I had childhood trauma, so I'm going to take this out on everybody else. So, like I said, I do try to empathize with people who've been through
Hmm.
childhood trauma and things like that because you can't control how you were raised or who raised you or what happened to you when you were a defenseless child, which creates
Yeah.
narcissistic personality disorder a lot of times. Because for me, NPD is like a defense mechanism. It's just high level self defense. You
Yeah.
know, super sensitive to criticism and things like that. But
Mhm.
just because you're super sensitive to criticism doesn't mean like you get to hurt other people. Just like even constructive criticism. Hey, look, that was an amazing conference you just gave, but like you could have
Yeah.
said this right here. What? You know, that doesn't right there. Just like, hey,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm trying to help you out. I loved it. I said it was great.
Yeah.
You said but. Anything you say after the word but cancels out anything that came before.
Yeah.
In that space right there. So it
Mhm.
is thrown around a lot, but it helps. I feel like it helps more than it hurts, which is the goal
Yeah.
for most things that you do. Like no matter what you do on the world, in the world, there's going to be pushback and people are going to disagree with you no matter what you do. But I feel like if you help more than you hurt, then and try to, even if you're hurting people, understand if you can curtail that hurt a little bit, that
Mhm.
helps as well. Like don't just cut the people off who it might hurt, your message might hurt. Listen to them, because it could help you
Mhm.
change your message. Because if you follow me for years, my message has kind of changed over the years because I've actually talked to
Yes.
a lot of other narcissists. I used to be like narcissist, bad, 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 bad. But then I started people just like, Lee, you said this right here, but not everybody like this. I was like, okay, I understand this. My message has changed. The goal is still the same, but the
Mhm.
message has changed a little bit more to make it more open to other narcissists. Say, hey, look, I'm not trying to villainize you. I'm just pointing out the behaviors that are toxic, that are hurting other people. You know,
Yeah.
the first step in healing is acknowledgement and growth. You have to acknowledge what you're doing wrong in order to move forward. Like, and that's what the narcissists that
Mhm.
I do talk to say. There's like, yeah, you pointed out some stuff that hurts and it sucks, but
Yeah.
I had to acknowledge that I was hurting other people. And sometimes they don't know. Like, sometimes it's subconsciously you've been built up these defense mechanisms
Mhm.
for so long that you don't even know you're doing it. It's just like natural. It's kind of like tying your shoe. You don't have to, like, when you first learn how to tie your shoe, you're like, the rabbit goes through the loop.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but after a while, it's just like
Mhm.
you don't have to look. Shoe tied. It's kind of like that right there. Like it's subconscious now. You know how to do it. You've done it so much that you just do it naturally. You don't realize you're doing it sometimes.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm trying to help as many people as possible on all sides of the spectrum, all sides of the dynamic and whatnot.
No, I think that's amazing. And you mentioned a couple things that one, first and foremost, obviously I'm interviewing you. But you guys, just a heads up, my podcast is a self-improvement podcast. It's for men and women. So a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today do apply to women too, because I have met people, women that I believe have narcissistic personality disorder. And I have seen some similarities in the way that they operate, the ones that aren't currently getting help. And also, you mentioned, just because you had trauma in childhood, not to diminish any childhood trauma that you had, because that's like you said, like when you're a little kid, you can't defend yourself. And trauma is very, very, very real, and it bleeds into adulthood. And at the same time, you can't use that as a reason
Mm-hmm.
to hurt others, because I did, in my scenario, I stayed in that relationship probably even longer than I would have if I had not overly empathized with the person, where I was like, "Oh, he had a bad childhood, so
Mm-hmm.
he can't help it," right?
Yep.
So a couple things that you really I resonated with. So what in your story led you, like, how did you realize that you had narcissistic personality disorder, and what happened like after that?
So for a long time, this is the dynamic that a lot of people ask that question
Mhm.
right there, and I never answer it when I'm on the live or something like that because it's such a deep question. It's not just like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what happened, one singular incident. No, it's just
Yeah.
it's a combination of a lot of
Mhm.
things, that had to go right to put me where I'm at right now. Um, so even since I was young, going through childhood trauma, neglect, and things like that, I've always felt like I was different and disconnected from, other people. I didn't connect to other people, even though I had family, friends, and all that other stuff. I always kind of felt like I was an outsider, like I was like an alien, so to speak.
Mhm.
I was on the outside looking in on society and things like that. My emotions didn't click like other people's did. I've noticed that from a very early age, 8 to 9 years old. I was just like, what are y'all doing? I be seeing people hold hands. Like, why y'all holding hands?
Oh, wow.
What makes you care about this person so much that you would
Mhm.
hold their hand? You would hug them or kiss them. And I always wanted to fit in and feel normal. So I would just mimic people. But I knew there was a problem. I knew that was problematic when I was young. Like even like when
Mhm.
the lack of empathy kicked in when we were like, I remember I just discovered this in therapy last year. I've been in therapy for 6 years, but year 5 of therapy, still having breakthroughs. Um, my therapist was like, "When was the first time you had the instance of your lack of empathy?" And I just had to go into my memory, and I just remembered we were outside in like
Mhm.
first or second grade, and we were like it's like a dome of monkey bars, like you can climb
Oh,
up
I
little bars
remember
and stuff
those.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this one kid was on
Mhm.
top of like he had climbed to the top, and he was like hanging upside down,
Oh,
and he was like hanging upside down, just like playing
okay.
around, like hanging up, like, "Ooh, look at me," and then he fell, and it hurt his arm or something like that. And he started screaming and crying, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Dang, he hurt himself." He like kind of landed near me. I was like, "Dang, he hurt himself. This sucks." But then the teacher like, "We all gotta go inside. Gotta go call the ambulance, get him taken care of." And I was angry. I remember screaming at the little boy because he ended my time. I was
Oh,
angry
okay.
at him because it affected me because now we gotta go inside because he was careless. You
Mhm.
know, I was like, "Damn, I remember that now." So it's always been incidents like that. Um, so kind of going through my adulthood, I always kind of knew I was different. That didn't stop as a child. I growing into a teenager, adult or whatever. I'll be in a room full of people, and I always still feel like an outsider, But one of the things that
Mhm.
helped me integrate myself into groups and stuff like that was me just being funny. That's why humor is my defense mechanism. I say it's self defense. It's
Yes.
like I find humor in everything. Um, so they helped me connect to a lot of people. Like, hey, Lee's funny, man. He can make you laugh about some crazy stuff. That's how people would do it. So
Mhm.
growing up, they helped me integrate into people. But all my relationships would start ending the same way. Like I'll be in love with somebody, thought had the love of my life, and then one day I wake up and look at them differently. Like, what am I doing with you? Is this my life? This is my life
Yeah.
supposed to be? Is this how life is supposed to be? One person? This is boring. And I would blame the other person in somehow, some way, shape, or form. We end up breaking up, and that kept going through my life until I got married. And then the same situation happened with my wife, and I was just like, I was just upset with my life. I was like financial rock bottom. Like life wasn't going the way it was going. We had like a 6-month-old baby, and she had went to work or something. She had went to the gym or something. I had
Mhm.
some work to do. I was like, God, I was so angry. I was like, I gotta feel my work. And then she left. And I remember my son would not just stop crying. So I'm in the house yelling, trying to get him to be quiet. And she just happened to come home early. And then what you doing yelling at him? I said, he won't shut the hell up, just like, and
Oh.
then she's like, me and her got to arguing. And then she decided to leave. I was like, get the hell out then. She's like, God, it's so hard to live with a narcissist. And I was like, what the hell you call me? Like, you're a narcissist. I thought narcissist was cocky, conceited people. That's what I thought it
Mhm.
was. Cocky conceitedness. And she left. I'm sitting there angry. Like, why the hell she called me that? Out of all the things that she could have called me, she chose that N word. I was just like, so she was just like in that space right there. I was like, okay, huh. So I got on Google. I looked it up. I typed in narcissist, and it was like, did you mean narcissistic personality disorder? I was like, what the hell is that? I was like, huh? I didn't mean that because I just typed in the word narcissist,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
narcissistic personality disorders on the side, and I was like, what the hell does that mean?
Mhm.
And I clicked on it, and then the symptoms and the signs pretty much answered the questions I had been asking myself: why I felt different, why I didn't connect to people. It's like
Mm.
the signs and the traits of narcissistic personality disorder were pretty much like answers to all the questions I had been asking myself. I was like, damn, I am, you know, this is what's
Yeah.
going on. It gave me it's like kind of like a cathartic moment. It's kind of free, and I'm like, damn, this is me.
Yeah.
Wow. I was like, dang, so this explains so much in my life. So
Mhm.
what is also could be debilitating. You're like, damn, I got a personality disorder, you know. But it's just like, at least I have the answers. At least I know what to work on. It's just kind of like,
Yes.
at least I know what to work on. It's kind of
Yeah.
like you just at least I know, as opposed to just guessing. Well, I might be an empath. I have too much empathy. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
if I'm working on the wrong thing, it's like
Yeah.
if I break my arm, like go to the doctor with a broken arm. There's like, here, put your leg up. We're gonna put your leg in the cast. I'm like, my arm is broken though. At least I know what I'm working on. I know what to work on. I know
Right.
what to heal and
Yeah.
fix. So that just led me going like the only answer is therapy. There's no pill. I was like, pills for narcissistic personality. There's no medication to like
That would be
pop a couple of pills. Yeah, I can pop a
Yeah.
couple of pills in the morning and just keep it moving. Just like wake up in the
Yeah.
morning, got my little glass beside of my little nightstand, like oop,
Yep.
my narcissism pills and some water to wash it down. No, it's just there's nothing there. So it's just like
Yeah.
go to therapy.
Yeah. That's so
So
good though. That's so good. And that's so like, it's such a good point that, I it resonates too, because it's like once even if you're like, oh man, I don't want that answer, it is an answer. And so once you
yeah,
have an answer, you're not in this in between, this painful in between place of I don't know why I don't fit a certain way.
Yep.
but now there's an answer. So I can move up from here. I can go from here.
Yes.
And that's when you started going to therapy, which is amazing and brave. It's really brave. So why did you or how did you start to go from like going to therapy and healing to I think I'm gonna be open and tell the world, which it's not something that's common, right? A lot of people don't say, "Hey, guess what? I have narcissistic personality disorder," which is really brave and awesome. So how did you go from that place of acceptance and like healing to I'm going to now tell people exactly who I am, fully transparent, mask off, and I'm going to help others?
So that right. So the story I just told you about me finding out and going to therapy,
Hmm.
that was in 2017.
Wow.
So
Okay.
so 2017, I started going to therapy, got diagnosed in 2018. So
Mhm.
fast forward to 2020, like March, April 2020, like the pandemic was creeping in. I had missed a few therapy
Yes.
appointments, and so my wife had left again. She was like, okay, he didn't revert back to his old behaviors because I stopped going to therapy. Um, and she just decided to leave. And I was like, ugh. I had missed like 4 therapy appointments because I go
Oh.
at least go once a month. And I remember going to therapy, and I remember telling my therapist, I went back to the therapist, she's like, I haven't seen you in a couple months. What's been going on? What's new? I thought, well, my wife left. And she was like, hmm, what you do? She immediately blamed me. She's like, what you do? I was like, what, me?
Yeah.
Why I gotta be me? But she gets, I've been talking to her for 2.5 years, so she knew who I was.
Hmm.
So I was just like, I asked her like, how can I get her back? She's like, and my therapist is legit with me because you can't work with narcissists unless you actually they can take some honesty.
Honest. Hmm.
So I was like, so she said, you can't. And I was like, wait, I can't. She's like, let me rephrase that. So like, you can. You're very talkative. You're funny. You can talk your way back into it. Y'all have a kid together, so that can be your entrance. You can talk your way back into the relationship. But when she realized that you haven't changed, you'll be going through this again. So you have to commit to yourself. Sometimes you have to
Mm.
release, kind of catch and release type stuff. You got to release. If it comes back, you got to catch the fish and release it. If it jumps back in the boat, then it wants to be cooked. Just like it wants to be kept. Um, so yeah, that was back in 2020. So I just went on that journey. A few months later, she moved back in, and I was just like, how do I keep myself accountable without, in case I miss? I can't just always depend on therapy because every time my therapist has a baby or something like that, I would always revert back because she'll be out the office. She'll have a baby.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I didn't go to. I was missing therapy appointments because like money, therapy is expensive. But then also,
Yes.
I think she had a baby at the time too. So it's just like I'm just everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm bouncing around. So I was like, I need to find a way to hold myself accountable. And I had already started another TikTok account. I had been on TikTok for about 4 or 5 months, and I have been doing personal development. I'm 38 right now. So
Hmm.
at the time in 2020, I was 30, 34, 35. Um, I had been doing personal development since I was 20 years old. So I already had so many years of personal development on my belt. So I was just like, therapy is personalized personal development. It's personal development for me. Tony Robbins, everybody, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, all those people, Brene Brown,
Yes.
those are
Yep.
those are those are motivational speakers for the masses.
Yeah.
Therapy is like my own personal motivational speaker that's catered towards me. So it's like personalized personal development. So that's why it helps me out. So I'm just like, I got to find a way to hold myself accountable. So one of the motivational speakers I listen to is Gary Vee, Gary
Yeah.
Vaynerchuk, and he was like, "Get on TikTok, 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 TikTok." So I started TikTok in January of that year, just being funny. But then I was just like, I started posting a couple mental health videos on it, but they didn't do anything. People were like, "What the hell is this? You were being funny, but now this is dramatic. Like we don't want to see this." So I was like, "Let me start another account." I had like 100,000 on that account. I was like, "Let me
Oh,
start from
wow.
zero." Yeah, I have
Okay.
another TikTok account. I have another TikTok account with like 250,000 people on it. It's funny. I be cracking jokes for real. Um, but I was just like, dude, people didn't want to see that because it's such a different side of it. So I started another TikTok account in May of that year, and I was on my way to therapy. I was like, I was on my way back to therapy. I was like, let me just do this. I'm gonna just post it. If it fail, I can always go back to my other TikTok account, just be funny again. No, none the wiser. People be none the wiser. So I posted my first video saying I had narcissistic personality disorder, and I want to be an open book and just talk about my journey here and mental health stuff like that. Because I
Mhm.
know I was suffering in silence, and I just feel like other people suffer in silence. You just
Yes.
retreat with it's so easy to retreat within yourself. And you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to. I was just like, let me talk about this online. So I just made my first video and just posted. I posted a video on the way to therapy, and I went back to my other account. I'm going to my other account. So if I get any negativity, I ain't gonna be able to read it till later on, So it's kind of like throwing a grenade and running away from it. So I was like,
You're like, hit and run. I'm out.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I'll be out. Go back. I'm gonna crack a joke here real quick. But yeah, so I did that, and I went back, and it was pretty much received in a positive manner. People was like, "Wow, I never wait. You can't be a narcissist because this, that." I'm like, "Yeah, I was on the way to therapy for it. I don't know what to tell you. This is me."
Yeah.
But then I didn't have any intentions on it being as big as as it is now. I would rather be doing the funny stuff because there's like it's just released, but I can do both. So I've integrated my comedy stuff into
Yes.
my mental health stuff. That's my therapist said, like, just do both because you're gonna feel like you turn yourself into two different people if you're trying to become a comedic and then serious. Just be serious, be a serious comic. Just like talk about serious stuff in a humorous way because that can help people heal. That's what I started doing. I just like started just talking about it and just answering questions, and it just kind of took off from that point forward. Here we are now.
Yeah, and the way you talk about it, you are very transparent. And you guys, I'll leave the links in the show notes, but if you haven't checked him out and his page out, you need to. Like, you just need to. There's a lot of videos where you're extremely transparent and you talk about very serious things, but there's also videos where it's extremely transparent and it is funny. I mean, the thing is, like you mentioned, spectrum.
Yeah.
Everybody, unpopular opinion, everybody has narcissistic traits. Everybody walking the earth. I have them. Everybody I know has them.
Yeah.
Narcissism, like all the other traits, right? They run on a spectrum. And so when you're seeing some of these videos that I think are, they are funny, they're meant to be funny, some of them. And I'm like, I can look back in time and I'm like, oh man, haven't we all had our ego hurt at some point and acted out, misbehaved, acted
Yeah.
like a child, if you will, right? There's times when I look back, when I was in my own stuff, I had an issue with drinking. And when I would drink and like someone hurt my ego, I acted like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I thought it was an adult response, but it totally wasn't. So when it comes to, I was going to ask about dating, but this can actually apply to any type of, because like I said, I've encountered friends, ex-friends that I think are definitely at least highly narcissistic. So when it comes to dating and meeting people in general, can you advise the listeners of like what red flags to be looking for in someone that might be a narcissist potentially?
So it's kind of hard to tell first, second. So me, I have like a radar now. I'm just kind of like narcissist radar. I wish I could just bottle it up, but I can't. But I tell people, just trust your intuition. Like
Yes.
the first thing, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Your intuition is kicking in, just kind of is warning you right then and there. You are your own red flag. Your body or your mind is just like, no, this ain't it. But your eyes are like, but this is it. They are gorgeous. You when your attraction is overriding if you feels wrong, but you feel like your attraction is overriding your intuition, you're gonna lose 100% of the time. It just like it really your heart and your mind have to be in alignment with somebody. And that's what I know sometimes, like that's why I tell people always slow down with somebody because you don't really know someone until you see them angry. I know people just say you don't know someone until you live with them.
Yeah.
But until you see them angry and how they handle anger and criticism, you don't really know that person.
Yeah.
So find how they handle rejection or you setting boundaries. So I tell people, find a way to say no.
Yeah.
That's the key right there. Find a way to say no to something. Like I said, because in the beginning of a relationship, I know it's easy to say yes to everything, especially if you like someone. Like yes, 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 yes. If you don't want to do something, say no. It's a movie that Jim Carrey is in called The Yes Man, and
Yes.
he was saying yes to everything, every single thing, even if he didn't want to do it. But then there was something that he really didn't want to do. And Zoe Deschanel, she could sense it. She was like, you don't really want to do this, do you? He's like, yes, I do. Just like, no, you're off. So just test people by saying no. Like, find a way to say no. That doesn't make me comfortable. Find ways to set boundaries and don't bend your boundaries for anybody. Don't. If you don't kiss on the first date, don't kiss on the first date. I'm telling you, because they'll expect more. Because like you're setting the precedence. I don't kiss on the first date, but then you end up kissing on the first date. You're setting the precedence for the rest of the relationship because now they already violated your first boundary. now they're going to keep doing it. Why wouldn't they? You know, so just feel like slow down, take your time. Speed is the weapon of narcissists.
Ooh.
If you feel like you're getting swept off of your feet, it's typically to drop you on top of your head. Yeah. So, you know, I tell people to slow down. It's just like, well, swept me off
That
my
is
feet.
like, oh my God. I was going to ask you about love bombing, and that kind of ties into that, where it's like, God, that is so, that, yeah. Speed is the weapon. Yes.
Yeah. Slow down because
Yeah.
not so a lot of people love bomb. Not only do narcissists love bomb, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people love bomb. But like
Hmm.
I said, narcissists love bomb with intent. So I tell people, just like, how do they handle when you don't want to do something? Like you know, love bombing, you feel it's the euphoric feeling. You feel like
Yep.
you're just heaven on earth type stuff, you know.
Hmm.
So I just tell people, the easy way to spot it is to say no, or just push back on it a little bit, set a boundary, because if you don't,
Hmm.
I'm just telling you, it happens to so many people. It really, really does. It's just one of those things that, like, when the red flags pop up, don't put them in your pocket. You know, if they're willfully handing you a red flag, hey, all my exes are crazy. It's kind of like they literally hand it to you, like, here, all my exes are crazy. You see it, don't put it in your pocket. You know, just like, oh, let's
I
talk
used to
about
say,
this.
don't wear it. Don't walk into
Yeah,
it as
yeah,
a dress. Don't wear it
yeah,
as a dress.
yeah, don't
Yeah.
and put it in your, don't use it as a handkerchief. You know, just like, don't wear it like that. Because like
Yeah.
at dinner table, it's just like,
Yeah.
ask questions, ask deep penetrating questions, because most narcissists will want to be surface level.
Ooh,
You know,
that's huge. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
as I
Uh,
said, most some of them will, like, there's no foolproof way, because there's
mhm.
like, just as I just did a video about this on my YouTube channel. Just as much as empaths and codependent people
Mhm.
are growing the victims of narcissists, there's so much information out there for them. Narcissists are evolving as well. You know,
Mhm.
the information, oh, I used to want to do this, but now I'm not going to do this. So make people earn
Mhm.
your information. If they're asking you deep penetrating questions, ask them the same thing. Don't let
Yeah.
them just, like, you tell them some type of traumatic story,
Oh,
and then they
gosh.
just like, oh, man, it sucks. Then they go on to something else. Tell me, yeah, I gave you some trauma, you gotta give me something back. Don't give me meet me in the middle, because like they
Yeah.
have. If there's not one of the red flags I tell people about is if it's not an equal, you know, distribution of information back and forth. If it's
Mhm.
like you're just giving and not receiving, then this red flag. They're just taking information to analyze you with, to concoct their character with, and whatnot. They're creating their character when you're giving them all this information.
That just gave me chills. It's true though. It's like, um, because one of the things that I've I've worked on, but one of the things that I
Mm,
used to do is I'm transparent to help people as well with my own stuff, mine's sobriety and stuff like that.
mm,
And PTSD and stuff like that. But I would overshare. Like, I wouldn't just tell people things, but
mm.
with the person that I dealt with, for example, like, he asked a lot of questions out the gate. He came on strong. He swooped me off my feet. And he asked a lot of questions. And I took it as, oh, he really wants to get to know
Let's
me
get to
because
know me. Yep.
he
Hmm.
cares, you know? So I'm like telling
Yep.
him everything. And then I would ask him something and he wouldn't divulge much. It wasn't until I was ready to leave. And that's when he hit me with everything that he had been through in his childhood. And so of
Yep.
course I was like, well, I need to stay now, you know, because but yeah, you guys like match someone's energy. I would, you know, I like to say match them, narcissistic or not, just people in general, because there's takers in the world. They don't have to have narcissistic personality disorder. There's just some mean people out there that aren't
Yes.
working on themselves that will take advantage of anybody really.
Yeah.
And if like you mentioned, something really important of like, if you tell somebody a boundary and then you don't abide to your own boundaries, you can't expect others to. Like, if you don't
Yeah.
abide to it, they're going to think that you're not serious and they will take advantage. And so that's something that, yeah, I've seen that a lot. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So when it comes to, and I would say being in a relationship, but you guys, this applies to romantic, friendship, this applies to parents, even if you have a narcissistic parent. What does an abuse cycle typically look like from like what we call or what we hear about love bombing to devaluing? And how does that escalate to a lot of your videos cover this danger zones?
Mhm. So I that's what I actually that's my next project I'm working on now, but I'm actually about to release that in the next couple in February, in the very beginning of
Mm,
February, is the cycle of narcissistic abuse, toxic abuse from my perspective. You know,
yeah.
so typically there's the normal cycle is 4 stages. You know, the normal cycle is love bombing, devaluation, discard, and Hoover. Sometimes Hoover, not all of them are gonna
Oh,
Hoover you in.
okay.
So it goes from love bombing. They love bomb you pretty much. They become whoever you need them to be.
Mm-hmm.
To devaluation, to they take the love away. You know, devaluation is when they disconnect from you emotionally, whatever. They just like they're not the same person that you fell in love with. Then they typically get rid of you through the discard phase. Not always physically. You know, I always believe that there's 2 forms of discard. There's an emotional discard,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a physical discard. Everybody gets emotionally discarded, but not everybody gets physically discarded. Like they'll stay with you. They'll be out of
Yeah.
love with you and stay with you. They'll keep you around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear people just say, we were like roommates. You know, we went from lovers to roommates. We just co-parent in the same house. We don't even talk anymore. You see, you hear that right there. It's like they've
Yeah.
emotionally gotten rid of you, but they keep you physically around, maybe for finances, maybe because they don't want to see you anybody else, whatever it is. But then if they physically do get rid of you, not all of them will try to come back. A lot of them will try to come back in some way, shape, or
Mm-hmm.
form, try to remain relevant in your life. But that's the typical cycle. What I've done is added three more steps to my cycle
Okay.
from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So the typical cycle: love bombing, devaluation, discard, Hoover. My cycle goes: the first stage is not love bombing. The first stage is, I call it selection. It's why you get picked. It's why they chose you. Why you were picked to love bomb. Because not everybody gets love bomb. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some people first date, we do whatever, and I don't ever talk to you again. You know, because you served your purpose. Not everybody gets love bomb. Then it goes from selection to love bombing to what I call fracturing. What happens to get you discarded? You know, what happens
Oh.
to get you? What happens to start the devaluation phase?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why they start to see you differently. Now, I told you earlier, all of my relationships, I would just wake up one day and look at the person differently. That's the fracturing. Something happens between the love bombing and the devaluation. There's a fracturing
Mm-hmm.
stage that happens right there. So they start to look at you different. Your flaws start to pop up. You do have
Yeah.
boundaries. You have boundaries. Maybe in the beginning you weren't setting boundaries, but now y'all getting to know each other. It's like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with that. Now they look at you differently.
Yep.
You know, or it could be your past, something like that. You remind me of my old boyfriend. Who's your old boyfriend? And it's somebody that they know. You whore. You see what I'm saying? Now they look at you differently.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so then they look at you differently. So it goes from fracturing to
Mm-hmm.
devaluation, and then from devaluation to discard, and then from discard, I added a stage called storage, because they put you in like the little storage recycle bin, because they don't hoover everybody. This
Yes.
is how you determine who gets recycled or hoovered. You see, so I have a few different stages. It's coming out here in the next couple of weeks.
I can't wait
Actually
for
finished
that.
recording.
That
I actually finished
explains,
recording it very recently.
yeah, that explains a lot better. Because for people that don't have narcissistic personality disorder, we have a hard time understanding how do you go from like, I'm so in love with you to, but when you explain it's not something that, it's not necessarily like a light switch is the way I'm understanding it. It's more like something, there's a trigger point, something does happen. Whether it's, like you said, the person is now setting boundaries. And in my case, that was what happened. I set a boundary and it was like, oh my, I was like the devil, for
Hmm.
setting a
You're
boundary.
you're no
But
longer you're no longer perfect to
yeah,
them. Like that's pretty much what
no,
happens. Like they
yep,
see you in the love bombing stage, they idealize you, so you're perfect to them. But when you start setting boundaries and they start seeing your flaws,
yep.
that's when you're no longer perfect to them. Like you, and they treat you like a liar. It's like you lied to me. Like you
Oh
presented yourself in
God,
a false manner. You
that's,
know,
man. Okay, yes, yes,
you lied to
actually,
me,
yeah,
and it's not you. You didn't lie. I said you
right.
didn't lie. I idealize you. I think you're perfect for me, so I love bomb you. But then, like something happens, like you might say no. You might set a boundary, and
Mhm.
now it's just like, I thought you didn't have boundaries. You lied to me, so now I'm treating you like a liar, because now I'm treating you like you've been disingenuous towards me, and
Yeah,
now I'm angry at myself for picking you. I resent myself, so that internal resentment is expressed externally towards you. So they start treating you badly because they
that
are
explains
mad
so
at themselves.
much. I'm looking back like, oh my God, because I got called a liar, and listen, everybody has
Yep.
flaws. Everybody's got stuff. Like I've been
Yeah.
called things, whatever. Uh, but one thing I wasn't called as a liar. So when I got called a liar, I'm like, what? I was genuinely confused. Like, what did I do? But that makes sense. And you mentioned, putting someone in the storage bin, or, I've said before, it feels like on the receiving end, it feels like we're put on a shelf. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so when you were a little kid and you
Hmm.
get the toy that you've always wanted, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love this toy. I'm so excited. I'm going to love it forever. And you play with it and it's great. And then you see another toy and you're like, this toy is crap. And you just like throw it to the side for
Hmm.
this other toy. That's like how it's, yeah.
The analogy I typically use is actually that very analogy, but the movie Toy Story. Um,
Oh,
Woody
okay.
and Buzz. Like
Hmm.
Andy loved Woody. Like Woody, he was like, "You're my favorite deputy." Just had Andy on his had Andy on his foot and everything. He loved
Yep.
Woody, but Buzz Lightyear come Woody under the bed. Woody in the toy
Oh,
chest and everybody else.
yeah.
He still would pull Woody out the toy chest every once in a while.
Yeah.
But Buzz was his guy now. Buzz was the new supply. You say Woody's still
Yes.
around. He didn't
Yeah.
throw Woody away. Kept Woody around. Woody just watching
Yeah.
him treat Woody in the toy chest, peeking out, watching him treat Buzz good. He's like, damn, that should be me. That used to be
That,
me.
I know that
You know.
sucks. And that's something that, so, and it's, I like how you said storage too, because it's like, um, you may go back to that person, right?
Mhm.
If
Might
this
recycle
new
you.
person, yeah, if this new person or whatever the scenario isn't meeting your expectations, you may go, oh God, well, screw them. I'm gonna, go back to this person.
Or even if it is meeting your expectations, you can still keep the other person around because you don't want to see them with anybody else. Like I can still be
Oh,
happy and I
yeah.
can still be happy with this
Yeah.
new person, but I don't want to see you with nobody else. So I just kind of just I need some time to myself. Like just give me a little time to think and
Ugh,
just to see what I really want. Just give me some. We just need space to figure out what we
breadcrumbing.
really want. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm like. Then they might actually start telling you that they're unhappy with the new person, but they can't leave because I just can't leave right now because I'm connected to the kids and we to work together. I just don't know what to do, but I love you and I want you. Just wait on me. Just give me time. That
Yeah.
happens.
And that's why I say to people, and this is like something I learned too, and other my friends, some of my friends have gone through the same thing where it's like, believe someone's actions, not their words, until they earn that trust over, like you mentioned, over time. Now we hear a lot about narcissistic rage, and I have seen on I don't want to say smaller end, because things like silent treatment are extremely damaging, right? Mentally and emotionally, it can be really damaging. But you also see, and even some of the videos that you post where you have trigger warnings where a guy or girl, an alleged female or male narcissist, is literally raging out through. It can be quite scary.
Hmm.
And so for people that haven't heard that term, narcissistic rage, what is that and how can that escalate?
Um, Anything can set off narcissistic rage. So this is my
Hmm.
perspective. I feel like the silent treatment is a version of narcissistic rage. It's
Yeah.
just I call it
Okay.
silent rage because it's achieving the same goal pretty much. Just like I want to hurt you in some way, shape, or form. So
Hmm.
is the goal is just everybody doesn't yell and scream. So I just remove the yelling and the screaming. I remove all communication. The goal is the same. They just go about getting it differently. That's why I say the difference between a covert and an overt narcissist is how they behave, but the goal is still the same.
Yeah.
They have the same goals, just different methods of achieving those goals. So one of the things I tell people about the narcissistic rage is like when they
Hmm.
lose their damn minds and they lose control of their mental faculties and they snap on you and they're yelling and screaming and throwing things and punching the wall around you, threatening you, whatever it is. There's varying levels of rage because some of them don't go. You hear this is when you hear people say the eyes go black. Um,
Yes.
Rage gets worse though. I just feel like when the
Yeah.
rage escalates, I just say if it doesn't work, because rage is supposed to scare you to get one of their needs. When they are not getting their needs met in some way, they just get angry because anger is easy. Anger
Yeah.
is just easier than trying to communicate on an emotional level. So I'm gonna use this emotion of anger, of rage, to get my needs met. I'm
Hmm.
not. It's kind of like a kid. Narcissistic rage is the adult version of a temper tantrum. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
it's actually, it's like you think about it like, when you see a 3-year-old throwing a fit, you're like, okay. But when you see an adult, it can be quite scary and extremely dangerous, like you
Mhm.
mentioned in a lot of your videos. And someone can actually, because one of the things that I was curious about, but you answered it in one video, how someone can actually, the label doesn't matter as much as I think the behavior, right, to watch out for, but someone can be a covert and an overt, because I dealt with that person was
Mhm.
both, and he would go silent for days on end, but then the breaking point for me was he punched his car right near my
Mm.
face, and it scared the crap out of me. So that
Yep.
was my, okay, I gotta go. But it is it's important to speak on, like, someone can be both,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's just like depending on, it's kind of like depending on the environment, you know,
Right.
like they might rage behind closed doors, but they give you the silent treatment in public. Like
Yeah.
some of them, some of them will go back and forth, you know, just to get whatever needs they have getting met. But they
Hmm.
also want to protect their reputation in certain spaces as well.
Oh
You know,
yeah, that's
they don't want
cute.
to yell and scream at you in public because that's in public. You know, just like they start getting super passive aggressive. So you hear grunts and noises and things like that. They ignore
Yeah.
you. They act like you don't exist. They pretty much stonewall you. They treat you like you don't matter, you don't exist in public. But you get behind closed doors, that's when they put you in cars and throwing stuff. And you know, sometimes they'll hurt themselves and try to get you in trouble. They'll take it to the next level. They'll start scratching and hitting themselves. And I'm gonna tell people you did this. You know, so
Yeah.
that could happen too.
I've seen some of that on her videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like something. I have a friend that he anyway, his ex-wife was she had, pretty sure she had narcissistic personality. And that's what she would do. She would like hurt herself. When
Mm,
he was
yep.
walking away, she would hurt herself, and she would call the police and try to blame it on him,
Yep.
which is, he's a big guy, so it's like, who are you going to
Hmm.
believe, right?
Yeah,
Um
exactly.
it's
It's a
but
setup.
yeah, it was a total setup. And you actually posted something the other day where a guy, was it a guy? Yes, it was a guy who was recording his ex. It was over money or something.
Yesterday, from Martel Holt and them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And he was recording his ex, you guys, and she in the video, she was the one that was like freaking out and yelling and stuff. But as you mentioned, like sometimes this kind of behavioral pattern over and over again can
Mhm.
trigger reactive abuse, and the person on the receiving end. But so it's dangerous in many ways, you know, when dealing with someone that's not working on it or going to therapy, as it can, you know, violence can escalate, and it can get to the point where someone unalives somebody, as you've said in your videos before.
Yes.
So what advice would you give someone who's dealing with someone who potentially has narcissistic personality disorder and is raging out, and how, you know, what would you say to them?
I was just like, just try to do what you can do to de-escalate the rage. Don't go
Mhm.
back and forth with the person. You know, don't antagonize it. I mean, being antagonistic
Yep.
is in the in the eye of the whoever's receiving it, because they can view you not talking to them and not engage with them as you being antagonistic. Look,
Oh
oh,
my
you're not gonna talk
gosh.
to me. You don't have anything to say. You like if you're trying to be silent and just ignore them and just let them calm down. They're like you don't have nothing to say. They'll get madder.
Yep.
So if you can leave the area, I would suggest you leave in the area and things like that. But sometimes you know, survival. Think
Yeah.
survival first, especially if you have kids, because so everybody's situation, everybody can just like I'm gonna run out the house. You have kids in the house. You don't want to leave your kids in there with that rage, you know. So it's just like
Yeah.
everybody's situation is going to be different. So I just like think survival first. You know, ask
Yeah.
yourself before you speak. Ask yourself what's the benefit of saying this. I know it's easy to say this right now, but in the moment when you're experiencing it's completely different. You fear. You know, it's kind of like fight or flight. Your fight or flight kicks in. You're like, oh damn, I don't want, he gonna go crazy. He gonna hit me. He gonna do something like this.
Mhm.
So you just like in these spaces, like you just ask yourself, what goal are you trying to achieve? If survival is your goal, sometimes you don't want to antagonize them, so you just you know, I'm not saying blindly agree with them on everything that they say,
Mhm.
but don't try to push back on them when they're losing their minds, especially if you think they're dangerous. If they put their hands on you before and they presented danger to you before, right now is the worst time to try to be antagonistic because they will, you know, try to take you up out of
Yeah.
here.
Like, pick your battles.
Yes,
Right?
yeah,
Um,
live to fight another day. You know,
right, exactly. And it's someone said to me like years ago, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You know what I mean? Like, pick your battles, you know? But for people that are in a position where they can go no contact, what does that truly entail? Like, what does that mean to, if you could explain it to the listeners?
no contact is no contact, no access to you.
Hmm.
Like you're going no contact in order to heal and be safe and to live your life to the best, to get away from this person pretty much, to be able to heal and grow yourself and to be able to move forward your life. And no contact means no access.
Yeah.
Like we're not talking. There's no line of communication open unless you have kids or something like that. I
Hmm.
said, if you have kids, or if you don't, this is my advice. If you don't have kids with a narcissist, don't have them. Um, because
Yes.
it makes life so much harder. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you, it really does. But in this space right here, it's like if you don't have kids, like you don't have anything together. Sometimes you don't even want to tell them that you're going to go no contact with them because they might lose their minds and start popping up on you. Just like think survival first, because people will stalk you. People will pop up at your job.
Yes.
People will pop up at your work. Because no contact means no access. In the mind of a narcissist, when you go no contact, they automatically assume you have somebody else.
Oh.
Their mind automatically goes, you must have somebody else. I hope you're happy. I hope they're making you happy. I gave you everything. They will lose their damn minds. So I just like, no contact means no access. Like even if
Hmm.
they saying this craziness to you, they're reaching out from fake numbers, they're doing whatever it takes to try to get in contact with you. You block. You have to keep blocking. But
Yep.
also don't go no contact until you're ready. Because this is what
Hmm.
happens. If you go no contact and you keep breaking no contact, that narcissistic person just thinks that they have free reign over your life. Like you have no dominion over your own life. So before you go no contact with somebody, ask yourself, are you ready for this? Just understand that this probably might be
Hmm.
the last time you ever hear from this person or talk to this person. Ever.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
ideally, no contact is literally no
Yeah.
contact. So that's no access. That's no blocking on emails, blocking because you might get random phone numbers calling you, blocking
Yeah.
those, blocking random social media ads, but also don't look at their stuff either.
Yes. If that's it's not you're not contacting them technically, but
Yeah.
you're still in it. You
Yeah.
want to be out of it. Look, when you're looking at their stuff, I call that. I had a therapist. I did a one-on-one with a therapist, and she was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I go pain shopping a lot." I was like, "What's that?" And she was like, "I go looking for things that's going to hurt me." So what are you looking on that page for? Nothing on that page you're going to look at is going to help you make you feel good about yourself.
Mhm.
Because if you consider yourself an empath, or you have a lot of empathy
Yep.
and things like that, even if they're doing bad, that's going to make you feel bad. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like even if they're doing bad, like, oh, they're down and out. Damn, God, I want to reach out. That's even if they're, because I think people just like, I want to see them hurting. I want to see them doing bad. And you see it, and you feel bad. You reach
You
out.
do.
Yeah. So it's just like
Mhm.
understand that even you can't watch their stuff either, because that doesn't help you heal. And no contact means telling your friends that are maybe mutuals or close to this
Mhm.
person, letting them know, hey, I'm no contact. This is best for me. Don't send me nothing unless it's a threat. I'm looking for Melissa.
Yes. Yes. I had to
you
tell
know.
friends to don't update me on any. I don't want to know.
hmm
Don't update me. That's key. And I did have so I had posted in my stories I was going to be interviewing you, and someone asked me, she's like, "Can you please ask him about co-parenting with a narcissist because she's currently going through a divorce and it's a nightmare for her." So what advice would
Uh,
you give
it
someone
really
who's
just depends,
co-parenting?
and
I
because
know
co-parenting
there's so many
is such
scenarios.
a nuanced thing, because
Yeah.
it really just depends. No, co-parenting so you can't really use that term when you deal with narcissists.
Okay.
Because most narcissists counter parent you. You know,
Ooh, okay.
they do things to try to antagonize you on purpose. They try to make your life harder. Just being realistic, they
Hmm.
literally try to make your life harder through divorce, through the court system. Anytime they feel like you violate the court order, they take you back to court. They holding you in contempt, back and forth to court. Especially if they got money, they gonna try to
Hmm.
drain you. Because they want to exhaust you. A lot of times, they feel like if I keep bringing you to court, if I keep making your life harder, you'll just give in. And what giving in looks like is different for everybody. Giving in sometimes means giving up custody of the kids.
Oh.
Giving in
Hmm.
sometimes means going back to the relationship because at least you didn't have to deal with this. Um, you just at least So I just feel like you have to stay strong with the co-parenting thing, and then also just it's only about the kids. It's hard to go no contact when you're trying to co-parent. Just always
Yeah.
keep it about the kids. Like I would tell people to look up parallel parenting, because that means
Parallel
like
parenting. Okay.
because parallel parenting means like you parent your way and they parent their way, because they're going to try to they're going to try to counter parent you anyway. Like whatever hey, just so you know, we're vegetarian over here. They're gonna be eating just all meat. They're gonna take them hunting and make them hunt their own meat. It's like we went deer hunting today.
Hunting deer and stuff
Yeah,
is
they'll be like, you'll see a
yeah.
picture. You go somebody go see your picture. Like I thought you were vegetarian. Like you got your son over there with a deer.
Oh
It's
my
just
God. Yeah.
some fresh venison. We eat venison over here.
Yeah.
Vegetarians go to hell, something like that. You know, just sending subtle
Yeah.
shots at you. So just they're going to counter parent. So just like pick your, like you said earlier, you have to pick your battles. Everything doesn't have to be a war. You know, you have to pick your battles. Like if, because they're gonna try to antagonize you, to say things to get you to
Mm-hmm.
respond a certain type of way. Don't give them their reaction. I know it's easy. It's
Oh,
easier said than done. It's way easier said than done. But you don't want to give them that reaction, because if you do, they feel like they can just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But I
yeah.
will also say this as well. I say be prepared to pivot, change up who you are sometimes, because like they're so used to, because if y'all were together for an extended period of time, they think they know you. They think they know how to get reactions from you, so they know what hurts you, what you do like, and what you don't like. So they're going to try to do certain things, you know. And also, don't trust the niceness. If they all of a sudden be mean for a long period of time, and then they flip and be nice, they want something.
Man. Okay.
Don't trust the
Well,
niceness. Don't trust
yeah.
it. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like keep it cordial, whatever. Don't trust the niceness. Hey, just we've been doing pretty good co-parenting here lately. You know, just maybe we can take the, you know, Melissa's birthday's coming up. Maybe we can just
Mhm.
meet at the restaurant together as a family and just whatever. Just, you know, show Melissa that we can be together. We can do this together. Like
Mhm.
mommy and daddy don't hate each other. You know, don't watch out for the niceness. She's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Roar! You gonna see the real them come right back out. You know. See, I was trying to
Yeah.
be nice to you. I was trying to be nice to your ass, but now I can't. I see you now trying to be cordial. I'm gonna make your life harder. So
Yeah.
you know, just pick your battles.
Yeah.
If it's
Pick
not
your
something that you
battles.
want, if it's not something that you don't want to do, then don't do it.
Oh
Or
my
if it's not
gosh.
something you want to do, then don't do it. Because you still have to set your boundaries and just be prepared for the reaction. You know how they're gonna react. You know them.
Mhm.
You know.
That's so key. What advice would you give? So for people that are just starting this healing journey, um, whether it's leaving someone who was a narcissist or in it could be anything, friendship, otherwise in there. Because a lot of times, and this is something that I don't hear a lot actually, you've spoken to it before, but when someone is, especially if you're super empathic and codependent and all that fun stuff, when you're finally leaving the situation, you can feel it's very common to feel very empowered for like a second. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, you don't even know who you are anymore. You've lost your identity. You're very depressed. You know what I mean? It's like, it is
Mhm.
like catastrophic. It is catastrophic. So, for people that are just starting out on this healing journey, what advice would you give them?
Just understand that it comes in waves.
Yeah.
It's just like if you can kind of close your eyes, like healing is kind of like this. You close your eyes and walk to the edge of the beach, you know, where the tide comes in, the low tide is coming in just enough to hit your toes. You close your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I'm breathing in. This is what healing is. You know, it's just like every few minutes you feel the water hitting your feet. It's like, I'm feeling very good right now. And you get your eyes closed, and all of a sudden you get hit by a big wave. You knock down. It's
Yeah.
going to come, like tsunami's gone. You know, just like you close your eyes and a storm came. You were at so much peace that a storm came. You didn't see it, and tsunami wave hit you. It's just like just be prepared, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it comes in waves. You know, you're gonna have good days and bad days. Just acknowledge
Yeah.
that your feelings are valid, and that there's nothing you could have done more to save that person, to fix that person.
Mm.
It's way less to do with you than it is to do it than you think it is. There's so
Yeah.
many people just like feel like, well, I wasn't good enough for them to go get help.
Yes.
That's not you.
Mhm.
They were not good enough for themselves, because they have to help themselves. You gave them all you could do. You know, you left no stone unturned. Like, well, I didn't
Yeah.
try marriage counseling because everything, you know, you did everything you could do. You
Yeah.
know, just accept the acceptance that the relationship is over helps you heal, and kind of helps you, you know,
Mhm.
keep your eyes open. So when the waves come, you know when they're coming. You know.
Right. And it's something that I think no matter what you're healing from, right? Yeah, this or anything really, like even you're in your own healing journey from your own past, right? Where it's like
Hmm.
healing is not linear. And that's
No.
okay. Because there's some days, even now, this is like years later, I wake up and I'm like, I'm just not okay, you know?
Yeah.
And my friends talk about it too. And sometimes as humans, everyone does this where we judge ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to be over this by now. Why am I, and it's like, give yourself some grace. So you kind of mentioned a few things that you have coming up. So for the listeners that are just, listening to this now, what events, do you have any events coming up that you like to speak on? Or is there anything else that you have? I know you said you're writing a book.
I'm
which
writing
is
2 books. I'm
awesome.
writing. I'm
What?
writing. So I have my kid. So I haven't started. I have the idea, the premise for both of
Okay.
them,
Yeah.
but one of them is I have my own little kids book that's for kids like from three to
I
10.
love it.
But I
Yeah.
also I'm writing a book right now from kids like 10 to 16, 10 to like teenagers, like
Oh,
adolescent
okay.
teenagers and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're dealing with toxic households and toxic parents and things like that, toxic situations. Um, but then I'm writing my own personal kind of like not necessarily autobiography,
Mhm.
but my podcast is called The Narcissist Code. The book's gonna be called The Narcissist Code. It's just my mind, how I got here, what's
Yeah.
going on, and whatnot. But like I said, I have a few different courses coming out. I have like I said, my video series that is coming up about the 7 stages of narcissistic abuse that is coming out next couple weeks. And I have another video series called 30 Days of Self-Love, Healing and Growth.
Ooh,
That I just
okay.
recorded as well. Um, that's about to come out here. I have some. It all just like it's
Yeah.
all coming out here pretty slowly, like pretty soon. I'm redoing my website
Mhm.
and my events that I have coming up. I'm doing I'm doing some online, also in-person workshops. I have one coming up in Durham, North Carolina, in I think near the end of February. March, I think March is
Mhm.
Houston or Dallas, Texas, and then I think I'll be in the West Coast in April or May. Um,
Okay, good.
so
I was just about to
those
ask you, when are you coming to California?
Yeah, and so California, like I said, yeah, I think LA sometime April or May. You got to plan that out.
Yeah.
There's some events coming up because I do want to. I'll probably be on some stages talking about this type of stuff and just doing motivational speaking things concerning this. Helping people
Mhm.
grow and heal and build and whatnot. So that's coming up
Yeah.
really soon.
Definitely. And I'm assuming, so everything that you're mentioning, if I link your website in the show notes, people can access all of this amazing, amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's
Yep.
awesome. And yes, I'm like, I've got your notifications turned on. So when you mention or when you start talking about LA, I want to see you. I know I have a group of friends that will want to see you. So that would be really, really awesome. So thank you so much for your time today. Once again, you guys, I will link Lee Hammock's links in the show notes to contact him, order his books, plural, or to book him. And please be sure to also look out for his events that are coming up where he's going to be speaking. So please be sure to check out the show notes for all of that information. If you like the show, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to tell a friend. If you would like to connect with me at the Melissa Page on IG for more resources and life coaching breakthrough sessions, thank you for listening and supporting me. If you're new and want to receive these and resources the minute that they come out, please email me at gettingsoulfitpodcast@gmail.com. And I promise to only send you the good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Yay. Well, thanks for having me on. I super appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
seriously, I try to reach as many people as I can. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my video. You are a mental healness rock star, and I appreciate you for being here. If you haven't already, make sure to click on the screen to subscribe to the channel and watch another one of my videos in my playlist. There's also a link available up here for you to purchase my kids' book, Remember It's Not Your Fault, on Amazon. So check that out. Thank you. I will see you in the next video. Peace.